Only the ignorant's first impression of a Tonberry is benign. As it slowly approaches, your anxiety spikes, and fear quickly rises. Focus on the dark figure and the knife in its possession. Its only desire to steal your life with a single thrust. But you rarely need to worry. Tonberries typically enjoy the dark cavern environments or abandoned ancient structures. Otherwise, they tend to keep to themselves and only actively hunt when the opportunity arises. They have a social structure and even a religion. So the question is, why do these intelligent creatures do the horrible things they do? Is there a reason for this undying hate? O brothers of Rancor, take up thy lanterns. The truth we shall illuminate. O sisters of Rancor, take up thy knives. To cleave our foes with barren hate. Through this we seek our just reward. Our goddess glory be restored. This is the Tonberry's creed, the guidelines they follow. It also sheds some light on the reasons why they carry a lantern and a knife everywhere they go. Easily identified as 3-foot tall green humanoid creatures with round heads and small snouts, yellow eyes, and the tail of a fish. They wear dark brown cloaks with hoods. They go by few other names, pugs and or dingleberry if you wish to give insult. But look at them. How did they become known as the Walking Deaths? These kind of cute humanoids are known for taking down the most dangerous of opponents with a single hit. Don't believe me? This is the terror of a Tonberry. But how are they so powerful? Those lucky enough to have slain a Tonberry have done extensive study in their items held. It turns out their iconic lantern and chef's knife truly are what they are. Just everyday usable items. But they do seem to hold some residual power. Upon examination, these items and equipment do have incredible effects, but they completely change when in the hands of a Tonberry. So what is this power that's left behind? Those remnants of malicious energy is the force that gives a Tonberry its true power. The power called Rancor, otherwise known as pure, unfiltered hatred. Love and hate are two sides of the same coin, one influencing the other in an internal struggle. Love fueling hate, and hate can only really take hold when one's loved. We've seen what hate can do firsthand in other universes. For a Tonberry, Rancor enhances already innate abilities while being powered purely by their hatred for pretty much anything. But especially for the more sentient, intelligent races. Rancor is also invisible to those who aren't fairly powerful or haven't amassed a large amount of karma. Karma for a Tonberry is how many deaths the target is responsible for in their lifetime, especially for the deaths of other Tonberry. So remember that scary monster the Tonberry felled with a normal chef's knife? Well, it was infused with Rancor and did damage to the creature that slain a lot of other creatures in its lifetime. On top of the chef's knife ignoring all those fancy armors you may have acquired, it even enhances the Tonberry's natural defenses and the robes they wear, making them very durable, even granting them health regen. They can even attack enemies with a grudge that uses karma in the exact same way. So now you take those items and honed skills and add a little dash of rancor, and Tonberries become terrifying assassins. In the Middle Lands, during the Great Crystal War, the Allied forces went to war against the Shadow Lord, a collective of beast tribe members. The Tonberries kept to themselves during this war, but every once in a while, the Shadow Lords would go to the Tonberry, who would then send their elite members of the tribe to assassinate high priority targets, such as generals or political figures. They were so successful that they became known as invisible killers, leaving only bodies with a knife wound as calling cards. Thanks to the very rare survivors of Tonberry murder attempts, we've managed to gather in great detail the killing techniques of the Tonberry. The first of these killing techniques is called walk. Even though it's just a walk, it's anything but simple, as it uses rancor, allowing it to move completely silent when walking through spaces that should have an echo. They have another form of this technique called waddle, that increases their defenses with an already staggering ability to take damage. Karma. Tonberries have this attack to slaughter its foes from afar. They prefer stabbing, but this move assaults you with rancor, doing damage to your remaining life force and inflicting poison, petrify, and doom. Doom and gloom. For when they don't have enough time to stab you, it just outright kills you. The strongest of Tonberry can even master some of the most destructive spells ever conjured. So I know what you're thinking.
Okay, we'll just bring a summoner with us, and when we encounter a Tonberry,
Wrong, you fool. Tonberries don't give a flying fuck about your gods. Voodoo. This is a technique that summons a statue that looks exactly like it. They then plunge their knife into it, instantly banishing the Aeon from wherever they came from. Now you're thinking,
okay, we'll just gang up on it or run away.
good luck. Truly, good luck with that, when Tonberries seem to be masters of time magic as well. Bone Deep Grudge is a technique for group assassinations, freezing all entities in casting range, frozen in time, to be stabbed properly. They even have a skill called Time Damage that inflicts pain based on how long you've been alive. Traveler, for how far you've walked in your lifetime. Finally, the best of them are capable of using everyone's grudge, that does damage based on how much karma you've acquired over your lifetime by slaughtering creatures, and goes double for Tonberries. The ultimate grudge not only does a massive amount of damage to everything nearby, but also kills them completely. But where did all this hate come from? Well, this comes from a long line of unfortunate events. First, starting with the fact that the original Tonberries were never as they were today. They used to be a race known as the Kulu. Over 10,000 years ago, in the land called Vanadiel, existed a species called the Zilart. The Zilart had an ability that allowed them to communicate to each other telepathically, and they called this the Whisper of the Soul. When the Zilart learned that some of their own were missing this ability, they rounded them up and banished them to the wilds. These banished Zilart then became known as the Kulu. They were expected to die in the wilds, but the Kulu persevered, eventually learning summoning. With this power, they began to build cities and their own civilization. When they found out that the Kulu may eventually have more power than them, the Zilart subjugated them, destroying everything they worked for. Eventually, under their rule, the Zilitarians had plans to become one of the gods by opening something called the Gates of Paradise. The problem with this is that on leaving, they would have destroyed the world behind them. The Kulu sabotaged their plans, destroying the gates and their city. The radiation from this explosion warped the bodies of the remaining Kulu, turning them into Tonberry. As terrible as it sounds, this is just a small piece of their rage passed down from their ancestors. You see, Tonberries have a religion. They worship a goddess. Now, if any of these gods existed, that I can't say. But Tonberry believes so violently that another goddess named Altana was so jealous of their goddess, Beauty, that she transformed her into a hideous beast and exiled her to the Outlands. Revenge for Altana's actions is said to be one of the origins of the Tonberry's rancor. So from what we can tell, the Kulu were a race that used magic, and their natural ability to use telepathy was something inherited, but lost to gain new skills. Perhaps the power to bring forth rancor as an ability to be manifested in their attacks, it has a connection to their magical origins. This would also explain why you receive more karma for killing one of their own. How could they even tell? Maybe this forgotten telepathy still remains. The rage of being slain sticking to you like an echo that can be seen by other fellow Tonberries. But what I know for sure is that after the fall of their goddess is when they started to become a hateful race towards the races that turned their rancor into a tool of extermination. But it is good to know that they aren't always so helpful. Some Tonberry have been known to befriend others. Kurasame once saved a Tonberry's life. From then on, it chose to serve as her attendant, even stating, "Nothing makes Tonberry more happy than helping the one that saved it." Even though you'd never tell from looking at them, Tonberries can even be reasoned with or bargained, but sometimes they simply enjoy being cooks.
Jack Machette was starving, so he ordered his Tonberry chefs to make dinner right away. But when Maggie awoke from her nap, she was furious to find the table bare. "How dare you forget my dinner?" she bellowed at her husband. Jack knew the trouble he was in, so he demanded the chefs make great haste. But, as always, they took their own good time.
What was he gonna do? Cut their pay? This might be why Tonberries choose to carry chef's knives above anything else. Tonberries seem to enjoy cooking, but only at their own time. That also goes for working with those attuned to evil. Most likely because their goals usually involve slaughtering others. So now knowing what we do, we understand that Tonberries are far from unintelligent serial killers. In fact, they have a complex hierarchy that governs their society. These societies are called enclaves, and multiple enclaves make up a Tonberry's kingdom. At the very bottom, you have your average Tonberries. They act as soldiers, or wandering around killing anything that they come across, favoring those of sentient races. Tonberry cooks. They love their prep time. Tonberry guards, whose only focus is to protect their enclave from threats. Sir Tonberries. Tonberries that are the elite among their knights. Those that would be sent for high priority assassinations against powerful or important prey. Master Tonberries. Leaders of enclaves. An enclave of Tonberries is a small group or sect within an area who governs Tonberries part of it. Holy Tonberries. These Tonberries heed the word of the goddess to all in the enclave. Mega Tonberries. Over the years, they are filled with so much rancor, so much hate that they increase in size. The most powerful of normal Tonberry. Dawn Tonberries. These are Tonberries that have defected from their enclave, seeking their own power to become respected under a new enclave. Then finally at the top of the hierarchy, we have King Tonberries. This is the form Mega Tonberries take if they live long enough. The ultimate killers that truly only show love towards others of their kind. So much so that if one somehow manages to kill enough Tonberries, he can locate you from the remains of their hate and will appear to end you. Now, as you can see, there is a reason why this creature incites fear. Why seeing a shifting dim light at the dead of night can bring up the worst of fears. Tonberries tend to keep to themselves and their territory. It's one of the few blessings as to why you don't see them more often. But if there is ever a war or a new evil to arise, you can guarantee their services will be needed. They will Tonberry you 6 feet under.